1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everybody, it is Daniel here for Mobile Syrup, and this is the matchup that everybody's been waiting for. This is the dual-core Android Bell battle, I suppose. And on the right we have the Samsung Galaxy S2 coming soon, and on the left we have the HTC Sensation 4G already released. Both of these are dual-core Android phones. Both run Android 2.3.3 Gingerbread, and both have a lot of pluses, a couple minuses, and hopefully will help you make the right decision. Firstly, the Samsung Galaxy S2 is $169.95 on a 3-year term, $599 without a term. On the Sensation, we have $149.95 on a 3-year term and $549.95 with no term. Let's get that out of the way. Screen-wise, we have both 4.3-inch screens. Samsung Galaxy S2, 800 by 480 pixels. It's got a Super AMOLED Plus display with great contrast, great color saturation, and overall very, very nice screen with great responsiveness. On the left, we have a 960 by 540 resolution QHD Super LCD display, and not quite the same color reproduction, but certainly the added pixels give it a bit of a boost. We both have on the Sensation, there's a VGA front-facing camera. The Galaxy S2 trounces that with a 2-megapixel camera. Both have capacitive touch buttons. The Galaxy S2 has a menu button and a back button, as you can see. Menu, back, they only turn on when the screen is interacted with. These ones stay on all the time. There's home, menu, back, and dedicated search button as well. Taking a look on the left side of the devices, volume rockers. This has a metallic feel to it on the Sensation, whereas the Galaxy S2 is all plastic. You can see the Galaxy S2 is thinner. It is 8.7 millimeters thick at its thinnest point, whereas this is 11.6, I believe. A little bit bigger, but certainly not a deal breaker. The deal breaker may be in the weight, though. The Galaxy S2 is 116 grams, whereas the Sensation is a significantly higher 148 grams, and you can certainly feel the added weight on the Sensation when you're holding it. That's not to say that the Sensation is too heavy. Some may even say that the Galaxy S is too light. It's up to you whether you prefer a metallic solid feel over a lighter plastic feel. Neither of these are badly built phones, and the Samsung Galaxy S2 is certainly more hardy and robust than the original, and I will show you why in just a second. Moving on to the bottom of the device, there is a micro USB port on the bottom of the Samsung, and there's a battery latch on the Sensation rather. Right hand side of the device, the power buttons on the Galaxy S2, nothing on the Sensation. Top of the device, both have 3.5 millimeter jacks. The power button is on the top of the Sensation, and on the back of the device, you can see very different designs, but both have 8-megapixel cameras. Sensation has dual LED flash and a speaker right next to it, whereas the Samsung has a single LED flash and a speaker on the chin on the bottom here. So as you can see, very different designs. It's going to be up to you to choose whether you like one over the other, but both are really, really well made and have excellent sound quality coming out of the headset over here, and very excellent call quality coming through the speaker on the back of the device. Let's turn them on. Both of these are set to maximum brightness to give you an idea of what to expect when using them, perhaps in direct sunlight, or just if you prefer, we'll max out the brightness just so you can see the colors more vibrantly. I'm going to sit on the lock screen for a second so you can see the difference. Samsung is very minimalist, gives you the time, the date, and your carrier, as well as your connectivity settings. On the Sensation, you have a little bit more customization. There are 4 customized icons here that you can shortcut into by dragging them directly into this ring here. If you don't want to do that, if you just want to unlock the device, you can just move that up anywhere on the screen. You see that 3D carousel effect comes in there when you unlock it. So now that we're unlocked, these are naked, brand new factory reset devices that I've installed only a couple programs on to give you a sense of how these will be right outside the box. You see, I have 5 bars on both of them. You won't have an issue with radio connectivity on either one of these. The very famous HTC weather widget is right up front here, and we'll go into that just for a second to show you the new 3D animations in Sense 3.0. Just tap on that, and it's going to load the weather, and you see, if you listen really closely, you can hear the wind even. So, overly dramatic perhaps, but it certainly goes to show you the 3D potential of the new Snapdragon processor. Getting out of here, you see if you tap on the home button here, you get this helicopter view. You can then hold down and move any of these home screens to wherever you like. This is also possible on the Galaxy S2, but you can't press on the home button for that. That will just take you right back to the home screen. What you can do is pinch to zoom anywhere on the screen here, and you get the same functionality. Alright, and you can also delete a home screen in its entirety right there. So that's that. Let's move back to the main screen. Okay, so you have your app drawer over here on the left hand side of the device. You tap that to bring it up. On the Galaxy S2 there is a customizable menu here, although it's a little bit complicated to actually change these, and I'll show you that in just a sec. So you tap on here. You have horizontal scrolling on the Galaxy S2, whereas you have vertical scrolling on the Sensation, and you can see the scrolling is very smooth on the Galaxy S2. Also smooth on the Sensation, but you'll notice a little bit of jerkiness, not quite as smooth. And we've noticed that throughout the entire process here, is that the Galaxy S2 is a little bit smoother in general. Pre-installed apps, you have a lot of similar Google apps then to each other. Excuse me. You also have the Marketplace. You have a native browser there. You have music, calendar. Okay, so moving on, let's go into the internet. Now I've loaded up the New York Times mobile site here just to give you an idea of a couple things. Firstly, the resolution on the Sensation is higher than it is on the Galaxy S2, and that affords it a bit more room on any given page. You get more text, images are smaller, text is a little bit sharper. You also see maximum brightness is actually higher on the Sensation than it is on the Galaxy S2. Now that's not to say that the Galaxy S2 is dark, nor is it any more difficult to see due to the increased contrast, but it goes to show you that the Super AMOLED Plus display not quite as bright as some of the competition. Scrolling, see it's much smoother on the Samsung. It's also got kinetic scrolling on the Samsung, so when you reach the bottom you're going to see that bump that you don't see on the Sensation. Now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to load up the full New York Times experience here. This is over Bell's HSPA Plus network. Now I did press a little bit sooner on the Sensation, but you see it actually loaded up faster on the Galaxy S2, and both of these are running Flash. You see these various animated ads here, and we can load up the movies right up in the browser here. So I'm just going to double tap. See, smoothing, pinch to zoom, much smoother on the Galaxy Tab than it is on the Sensation. And let's see the quality of movie footage. Also notice how dark the blacks are on the Galaxy S compared to the sort of grayish. Let's turn this into landscape mode. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this one. I'm going to max out the volume so you can get a sense.
Different, and they were closer together than the public pronouncements. Now, it seems like that's all fallen apart, and that the very harsh statements you're hearing from all of the different sides is more.
All right, now I'm going to do the same.
Private seems to be shifting. A week ago, it seemed like the negotiations underway behind the scenes were maybe different, and they were closer together than the public pronouncements. Now, it seems like that's all fallen apart, and that the very harsh statements you're hearing from all of the different sides it more closely matches the rhetoric that's going on in these daily negotiating sessions with the White House, which are said to be quite testy. This is not the first time that these folks are kind of going through this process.
Sorry. Didn't mean to drive you mad there. Just wanted to give you a sense that the colors are more realistic on the Galaxy S. The darks are darker, colors more vibrant. Screen is a little bit sharper on the Sensation. It's obviously brighter, but that results in more washed out colors. The maximum volume is higher on the Galaxy S. And overall, in my opinion, movie and video watching experience is higher on the Galaxy S. So let's get right out of that. You all see just how smooth that is and how quickly they both loaded up. Let's look at pre-installed apps. On the Galaxy S we have these 4 social hubs over here. We also have some DLNA and Wi-Fi abilities. You have a voice recorder, voice talk, photo editor, video maker. We have Samsung apps. We also have a built-in IM player, FM radio, as well as the standard Bell applications. On the Sensation, we have a few nice additions. We have also DLNA support. There's a voice operator here.
Say command.
You can say call home, something like that. Not quite as attractive. Alright, the other thing that we can do here is we can double tap on the Galaxy S and we have another Vlingo powered voice command system that's much more accurate and more full featured. It also has a driving mode, which the Sensation does not. Okay, so let's go back in here. The Sensation has a dock mode, which is nice. Gives you the weather, gives you a photo frame if you'd like it. Kind of pans through there. You can also set your alarm. Gives you your next calendar entries if they're there. You can also set this to kind of a sleep mode over there, which is really nice. And you exit that way. On the home screen, we also have a weather widget on the Samsung. And it's not quite as attractive as that of the Sensation, but it does the job, and it hooks up to AccuWeather. Let's go through a couple of the features inside the TouchWiz menu here. To edit the bottom row here, just go into Edit here. You can add a folder, or you can add or remove a page if you'd like. So down here, actually, now we can move these around, or we can remove them all together and bring this one over here. We also have the ability to, once we've saved that, we can pinch to zoom anywhere on these menus, and if there are more than 4, we can actually scroll between them, which is really helpful. Okay. Let's go into the camera software now. Both of these have 8 megapixel cameras, but in my opinion, the Galaxy S2 takes the spot there just by offering a slightly better experience. Excuse me, I keep pressing that. Okay, just in terms of overall usability, they're both pretty much identical. You have the ability to zoom in. You can double tap. You can pinch to zoom if you want to zoom in, for example. When you're done zooming, you can actually tap on the screen to not only focus but get a white balance reading. You can do the same on the Sensation, but it won't get a white balance, or it does, but it doesn't put out the flash. Shots are taken very fast, very quickly. Though slightly faster, in my opinion, on the Galaxy S. Low light shooting is also really good on both of them, but again, the Galaxy S takes the cake. The front-facing camera is a 2 megapixel camera on the Galaxy S. Excuse me. And it's a VGA camera on the Sensation. You see overall color levels a little bit more accurate on the Galaxy S. Both of these shoot in 1080p as well, and they are both very adequate at doing so, although overall the smoothness of each film that I looked at was a little bit higher on the Galaxy S. Okay, so I'm going to take you back here. There's a website that I've loaded up. It's a dead pixel test. Now I'm not looking for dead pixels this time. Oh, it actually got out of it. Darn, okay. There it is. Do I have a dead pixel? Okay, so this is a little bit frustrating. Okay, there we go. Okay, so far we have blacks. You see, obviously black levels are better on the Galaxy S2 than they are on the Sensation. White levels, as I've shown you, are slightly dim on the Galaxy S, but they're also a little bit more accurate in my opinion. The enhanced white levels tend to make the screen look a bit more washed out on the Sensation, and in my opinion not as enjoyable. It's much easier to read text on the Galaxy S as it looks like a piece of paper rather than reading a screen. That's because the digitizer, the actual LCD display, and the glass are fused together in the Super AMOLED Plus construction, and you don't really notice a space between the glass and the screen, making it much more comfortable for your eyes to read. Now, the Sensation rather has a slightly concave screen. Not sure if you can see it, but it dips about 1 millimeter from here to here and then back out again a little bit. What that does is it not only protects the screen when you're holding it down, when you place it down, but it also makes it easier to read text. And it is very enjoyable to read text, especially because the resolution is higher on here and you fit more on the page and text becomes sharper as a result. It's up to you whether you want a more accurate reading experience or you want a more sharp and more focused reading experience. That's something you're going to have to choose for yourself. I found both to be very enjoyable, though, as I said, I prefer the Galaxy S2 for the reasons that I mentioned. Let's keep going through the colors. Red seem a little bit darker on the Galaxy S2, a little bit washed out on the Sensation. Green, same thing. I don't know if my camera is catching it because I'm looking on the screen right now and it looks pretty much identical, but from what I can see, the greens are a little bit deeper, darker, more true on the Galaxy S2. Blue levels, same thing. Sensation looks a little bit more washed out than the Galaxy S2. Alright, so that's the internet. Let's do a couple more. We're going to do a speed test now. Okay, so both of these are not hooked up to Wi-Fi. They're both using Bell's HSPA Plus network, both using the same test, and they both, I'm just going to check, have the same Toronto, Ontario location. Alright, let's begin the test. Let's hope that one takes. There we go. And they're off. Okay, so one thing I noticed, I've done this a few times on both. The Sensation consistently gets about 300 to 400 kilobits a second more than the Galaxy S in the downlink, and they're about the same in the uplink. Okay, and you see both of them have excellent ping times, below 100 milliseconds, which is what you want to see. Let's restart it. And you see you can't rely on these tests at all, but it's a good gauge on how quickly the network will go for you. Now we see the Galaxy S as having more speed there. So that's the speed test. Let's do a couple more benchmarks. We're going to do something called Smart Bench, which is what I've started to use over the Quadrant benchmark, as the Quadrant has been known to be, you can cheat very easily. It's really easy to change some settings on your phone and the results are skewed. So while this is happening, let's just mention that this is running at a lower resolution. So 3D tests will be inferior on here. As you can see, it's actually going in a box. These are multi-core compatible tests, so that's okay. But the 3D test will likely be lower on the Sensation. It's not an apples-to-apples test. As well, the clock on the, although both of them are clocked at 1.2 gigahertz, so that should give about the same results in terms of CPU. So we have a score of 4,014 for our device here. And let's see what we get on the Sensation. We got a 2484 on the Sensation. Okay, so as I said, the 3D scores are going to bias this a little bit lower. However, productivity index should be mostly about CPU results, and then the gaming bench, the index, that's the one below. That should be that should gauge the 3D GPU. So again, both of them are lower on the Sensation. Let's do Linpack now. Linpack is a CPU test that will not test the GPU at all, which will not bias the Galaxy S2. So we're going to run it in multi-threaded mode. And you see, you have to run it a few times to get an accurate result. Okay, so you get multi-threaded 87.166, 81.9. This one is now a 50. So consistently higher results on the Galaxy S2. You'll notice that even though they're both dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processors, the Galaxy S2 has an edge in terms of CPU performance. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to look at storage. So this is the settings. You see, again, the higher resolution gives you more on the screen at once. You have there's internal storage. Now the Sensation comes with an 8 gigabyte micro SD card. No other ROM available, but a gigabyte of internal storage. You can also make more space by transferring apps to your SD card if they are compatible, which is nice. The Samsung Galaxy S2 comes with 16 gigs of internal storage. 11.5 of that is partitioned for USB storage, and there's 1.86 available for applications, and it has space for an external memory card, so you can add another 32 gigs for a total of 48 gigabytes of internal storage, which is really nice. The other thing that I wanted to show you, lastly, Swipe comes pre-installed on the Galaxy S2. The Sensation does come with something called a Trace keyboard, and I'll show you that in just a moment. If we go into the messaging app and we open the keyboard, you'll see the keyboard on the Galaxy S2 is a little different. It's darker, but it's also now multi-touch, which is great, and it is much more responsive than the original Galaxy S, which I like. But there's no autocorrect unless you enable it explicitly. So you can go in here and you can have predictive text. And then up on top, it'll try and detect it for you. When you're selecting text on the Galaxy S2, it's a little bit complicated. You actually have to tap on the arrow, and it'll bring up the select word or select all. When you're scrolling through different words, you can select it like this, which is nice, and it means that you don't have to peck at each word to try and select it. You just scroll like that. It's a little bit more intuitive, however, on the sensation. You can write, the boy went to the store. Now, I find this to be much more accurate and more responsive, and the autocorrect is more comprehensive. It has more words in the dictionary, and it's a lot easier to store words in this dictionary. As well, when you're scrolling through text, you just hold down and you scroll from left to right, and like the iPhone, it'll magnify whatever word you press. If you want, then you can select the word or select all, and then you can copy or paste. If you want, you can then also double tap on the word, and you can use these very convenient markers here to select any words that you want. Really, really convenient, much better implementation on the sensation, and this is kind of like Sense's claim to fame, is just that everything is clean, everything works really well. Samsung's done a great job on getting up to that point. I think it surpasses the sensation in many ways. It falls below it in others, obviously in screen resolution, in brightness, and a few other things. But overall, I think it's a more comprehensive, well-rounded device. However, I like the feeling of the sensation better in the hand. I think it's a superiorly made device, even though it's a little bit heavier. It also has better native applications, including native calendar, native keyboard, native music player. These are all very close to stock Android, which some people may like. But if we go into the music, for example, you see it's a little bit more attractive over here. There's a few more features, whereas this on the Galaxy S is a little bit more plain. The audio output is excellent on the Galaxy S2. It's a little bit lower on the HTC Sensation, but call volume on the headset is about equal. You're going to get great speeds on both devices. It's just a matter of preference which one you want. You really won't go wrong with either of these. Now, just as we're getting close to the end, I just want to talk about hackability. A lot of people like to install custom ROMs on their devices. They like to tweak and hack and root and whatever other stuff you like to do. The Samsung Galaxy S2 has an unlocked bootloader. You can basically flash whatever you want on it, and there's a very active community development website. xdaydevelopers.com has a lot of great stuff on there. Lots of custom ROMs here for the Galaxy S2. The Sensation has not been unlocked yet, although HTC has come out and said that they're going to be starting unlocking the bootloader, in September, and hopefully Bell will allow them to do so. And once that's out, you'll be able to flash custom ROMs, kernels, root the device very easily without having to crack anything on there. Another reason why HTC has fallen out of favor with a lot of their fans, they've hardened down on security recently, although they are turning that around. So another notch in the belt for the Galaxy S2. Again, it's all up to personal preference. The Galaxy S2 is a little bit more expensive. If you are willing to pay that extra amount, you'll get hardware accelerated internet browsing. You'll get a much faster processor, better GPU. Screen is much more vivid, colors are more accurate and warmer, whereas the Sensation has a more muted screen with higher pixel density and a greater form factor and better aspect ratio for movie watching as well. One thing I have to point out is that music, when listening to it on the 3.5mm jack, is better sounding out of the Sensation. That just came to my mind. I just wanted to end on that note. So these are both Bell devices, both running on a very fast carrier. I'm sure you'll make the right decision, but I hope I helped you out along the way. So if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.